So we'll start off. Remember, they asked me. We learned. We mentioned to start Pirkei Avot right after. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll try to do whatever we can do. We'll try to get as far as we can get.
Pirkei Avot is beautiful.
It says Moshe kibel Torah from Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah from Sinai. So in the beginning of Pirkei Avot, it right away mentions that all the ethics that we're going to learn here in Pirkei Avot, all the midot, all the derech eretz, all the anhagot, everything that Chazal wanted us to know in order that the Jew should be able to live in according to the Ratzon of Hashem, in order to live by the will of God. So immediately comes and tells you that Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah from Sinai. So everybody asks, what does it have to do with Pirkei Avot? Just start with the whole, everything that we need to start with. But really it's coming to teach you immediately on the spot that Moshe Rabbeinu, just like all the halachot we got from Moshe Sinai, just like all the Gemarot, everything that's in there, all the Torah Sheba Pez, all Halakha Moshe, everything is from Moshe Sinai. So to also, everything here, of all the Midot, all the Derech Eretz, everything that a person has to be able to behave properly is also Mimoshe, also Sinai, right? So it brings over here, it brings a very nice introduction, Rabbi Turesky. He says, it's understood, right, that a lot of the laws have to be from God. They have to be divine. For example, he says, you have the commandments of the Torah that have Shabbat, foods that are asur, foods that are mutar, the mitzvot like sukkah, shafar, and matzah, and so on and so forth. These things we understand why they have to be from God. Why does it make sense that you have to keep Shabbat? Doesn't make sense, right? Logically, you can think of keeping Shabbat the way it is. No. Why does it make sense that you're allowed to eat a cow and not a camel? They're both an animal. What makes one better or worse than the other? But why HaKadosh Baruch Hu said you're allowed to eat this, you're not allowed to eat that? We have divine authority. We have the creator of the world who created the world. Said, you are my people, you are Avadim Li. Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim from being slaves to Egypt to be his slaves. Right now we are Avadei Hashem. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sort of in charge of us. So Hashem telling us what he wants us to do and what he doesn't want us to do. Take a shofar and blow a shofar. Eat matzah, you can't eat bread. Right? If you eat bread, you have karet. What did I do wrong? I ate a piece of bread. I didn't do anything wrong. What? It's divine. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that this is the way it has to be. That becomes the nature in the world for us. And that's what we have to live by. Right? But these are mitzvot that human logic cannot bring us. But why does ethics, morals, and midot have to be from Moshe Sinai also? Why does a person, it says a person shouldn't kill, the Torah says, let's say, right? Or any of the midot and derech eretz that Pirkei Avot bring. These things are logical, right? It's normal for a person not to kill, not to steal, not to lie. These are things that a person will come to his own. Or to be jealous of somebody, to take something out of him. Person understands that that's wrong. Or kibbur avayim. People understand that kibbur avayim is right? So people know these are things which logic will bring people to do, because these are things that make sense. These things are very logical, right? So why do we need Pirkei Avot to be from Moshe Rabbeinu Sinai? Let it just be the Chochmah of the Chachamim and that's it. Why does it need to be Sinai? Why does it need to be divine?
Can't kill the heaven, no?
Okay.
Also, what is he also is acting without. So why kill?
Okay, but right now we know as people that you're not supposed to kill. Why does the Torah come and tell you not to kill? It's logical. Or why does the ethics of the Torah have to be in the Moshe Sinai? These things are logical, right? It makes sense that you're not allowed to steal anything. You're not allowed to steal.
It depends what you're thinking about stealing. Some people they think it's not stealing, or steal their house.
But people know it's wrong to steal. People know. They do it anyways. But they know it's wrong.
Maybe that's why they put it. Because not everybody knows.
Ethics and morals are something that people could come to on their own. The Gemara says if the Torah wouldn't be given, we would learn ethics and morals from animals. We would learn not to take from ants. We would learn to be modest from cats. We would learn to be good spouses from doves, I think the Gemara says. So there is an aspect that we would learn from nature, or we would learn also what the right and wrong thing to be would be. But he says something very interesting. He says that when you leave people to decide what's right and wrong, it's always going to lead to problems. People are always subject, in their decisions, they're subject to different they're always nogea bedavar. How do I say this in English? Right? They have always different types of interests that might motivate them over one way to the next. For example, he says that if you take several decades ago, and you take a lady that got pregnant, and they would want to kill the baby, it would be a murder. It would be a crime, tantamount to murder. It would be completely illegal for a lady to get an abortion, 100% illegal. And then they said afterwards, okay, it's going to become legal as, within 16 weeks. Within 12, and then afterwards they say, as long as the baby's not born, it's always legal. It's okay. And not only is it legal, but even you pay for it, insurance pay for it, we pay for it. You pay taxes, our money, people's money go to these type of places where it's not supposed to go to. But what? It became normal. So you see, something that was a crime, the government said crime, it's like killing, you're not allowed. Suddenly, not only that it became normal, but we're also paying for it. From one end we went, to the other end we went. He says also there was another thing, there's something called physician-assisted suicide. People that want to commit suicide, lo aleinu, right? People would never even think of such a thing. In certain places, it's legal to go to a physician's office and they help a person take his life. I think they give him a shot or medicine and they end his life for him. Some places. Right? But then you see again, at one point it was something unheard of. No way in the world. And now suddenly, it became legal in certain places, and if people want to do it, okay, that's already their... He says, so you see how when you leave people to decide what's right and what's wrong, and what should be moral and what should be not moral, people could change, things could change, the idea of it could change. So he asks, what caused such a change? Why was it at one point, to one extreme where it was considered murder and it was completely austere, and it came to another opposite extreme, that not only that it's not a murder, but it's also okay, and we pay for it, and everybody could do it, it's no problem. He brings something amazing. He says if you look before medicine and before science, and you look before drugs and everything else that we had with surgeries and so on, people lived very short. You look in the early 1900s, lifespan was very short. He said the average lifespan was 40 years in the early 1900s. Right? The average lifespan was 40 years. A lot of people would die very young. Right? It says that little children would die non-stop because of different diseases and tuberculosis. I looked this up once. People, on average, 200,000-300,000 people a year, I think, used to die from tuberculosis, right? So there was no, like we have today, immediately when they're born, they give them shots, they do this, they do that, surgeries, procedures, right? So before, when we didn't have all this medicine and science and surgeries and procedures, and people would always be dying, and tons of children would be dying and diseases and so on, they didn't have cures, right? Like we have today, Baruch Hashem. So people were a necessity. The government needed people. The world needed people. So to go and to murder, to take a life, to do abortions and so on and so forth, these things were illegal. It's considered like murder. So therefore the government didn't allow it. Right? But he says, today things change. Today average life is 80 years old. Children very rarely die. A lot of childhood diseases already are prevented by immunization. There's nobody even heard of tuberculosis anymore. Doesn't really exist so much anymore, right? And he says all the time now, people hear all over the news and everywhere else, they're always promoting how a lot of the money of the tax-paying money is going towards things which are a waste. For example, old age homes. Everybody that owns old age homes or nursing homes, they make a lot of money. There's a big business in it, right? Why? Because insurances pay a lot of money. Where's all this money coming from? Our money. Right? So the government is being drained a lot by the insurances. All these old age homes, senior homes, services, rides, this and so on and so forth. All this costs billions and billions of dollars. It costs a lot of money. It's a burden on people. Right? There's billions of dollars going to support old people in an old age home or in a senior citizen, whatever it might be. And these people to society, from a government perspective, are useless. They do nothing to develop anything in society. And they only do is, and not only that, you have people that are sick, they're in hospitals, they're on machines. Every single day it costs them money to keep them there. Every single day the Medicaid, Medicare, the government is paying for it. So therefore now people are not such a commodity anymore. People became more like a burden. The world was too overloaded with people. When it came to a time, he says, where it came too overloaded with people, much more people than you actually need. So now the government feels like the world is overly populated. So now abortion's okay, pulling the plug okay, killing is okay. Why? Because the government does not need people anymore. It became overly populated, so therefore it completely changed. So therefore he says, you're right, even though if the Torah wouldn't be given, we would have to learn from nature how to become people, but a lot of people would learn from nature to be the wrong type of people also. Because when you leave ethics and you leave morals and you leave derech eretz and midot to people to decide what's right and what's wrong, today you're going to think one thing is right and wrong, or one thing is wrong. Tomorrow you're going to have different agendas. You're going to have different, what is that called? Negiot again? You told me the English word before, right? Different, you're going to have different motives to do things differently. And then suddenly your perspective and your decisions and what you think is right and wrong, everything is going to start to change based on what your goal and what your motives are going to be. So something that you believed in which was fully right yesterday, today becomes fully wrong. What you believed in was fully wrong, today becomes fully right. What changed? Nothing really changed. You couldn't care less of what's right and wrong. The purpose of your whole decision making was what? Only which your goal is to reach that objective, so you go and you could pervert everything what's considered right and wrong along the way. So if you're going to leave morals and ethics to people, they're always going to change it based on what they want it to be. People cannot be the ones to decide morals and ethics. And therefore he says, right, the Torah's morals and ethics never change. Therefore it says by Pirkei Avot that the Torah we got, the Pirkei Avot that we received, Moshe Kibir Torah Misinai, to teach us that even morals, even ethics, halakha Moshe Misinai, are even from God. These things can never be changed. No person can come, no rabbi can come, nobody can come now and change the morals and the ethics of the Torah. There's a Gemara, I don't remember what this Gemara was. There's a Gemara that says by, I think it was by Rav Yehuda Nasi. He was sitting and he was giving a shiur, and suddenly somebody over there was eating garlic. Somebody ate garlic and his breath smelled very bad. And it bothered Rav Yehuda Nasi. It was hard for him to give a shiur with such bad odor. So Rav Yehuda Nasi said, whoever ate garlic, please, if you can leave my shiur. Rav Chia, get up and go. But he's not the one who ate garlic. Everybody saw he left, everybody went after him, everybody left. Right, the next day, Rav Yehuda Nasi's son asks Rav Chia, why did you eat garlic? He said, me? He said, Chas v'shalom, I didn't eat garlic. He said, I didn't want to give the person who actually ate to be embarrassed. He's going to walk out, he's going to be embarrassed. So he said, in order not to embarrass him, I walked out as if I did it, he said. But he said, the Gemara then asks, how did he know that that's the right thing to do? Maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. The guy who ate it, let him deal with it. Let him get up and walk out. Why is it that you have to get up? You cancel the whole entire shiur by walking out. Everybody's going to cancel the whole shiur by walking out in order to prevent somebody from being embarrassed. The Gemara asks, how did he know that that was the right thing to do? The Gemara says he learned from his Rebbe, from Rav Meir. How did he learn from Rav Meir? What happened to Rav Meir? He said, Rav Meir had a yeshiva, and one of the Talmidim in the yeshiva, he went, he married a girl like this, he married a girl, he did everything. He was with her, he got her pregnant, and he left her. He just ditched her like this, and he left her. And she came to the yeshiva, she came to Rav Meir, she told him, one of your Talmidim over here did something that he wasn't supposed to do. Right? And they didn't know which one it was. And now, in order for Rav Meir not to embarrass the Talmud, that he should go now by himself and come and write the get for her, she wanted a get from him. Right? So Rav Meir went and he wrote a get for her like he's the one who did it. Everybody saw what Rav Meir did. The whole yeshiva, everybody came and wrote a get for her. Now, amongst everybody, she received the get. But only one of them is good. But nobody's going to know which one it was. Why did he do that? In order to prevent him from getting embarrassed. He didn't want to embarrass him by singling him out.
Embarrass him for himself. If he ate garlic and he went out, so people think that he did it, and they take the embarrassment up to himself.
But everybody left.
I understand, because he was big rabbi. But let's say somebody like that was not Talmid Chacham so much, and he take about himself and he went out, so he take the Hashem up to himself.
Maybe if he has that ometz, he could do it.
Yeah, but to not embarrass my friend, I get up and go, and he the only one. But take the Shem.
He's also going to get up and go.
They're going to think that.
He's also going to get up and go because he knows at the end of the day that he ate it. If he's going to stay, it's going to continue. So a few people are going to get up and go. By doing that, nobody really knows who it is. So you're going to save the person from embarrassment. One person gets up is worse than a few people will get up and go. Right? But the point here is, so the answer, the Gemara asks, how did Ramir know to do that? Why did Ramir make everybody get in order not to single out this one person? He says that Ramir also learned from his Rebbe, and his Rebbe learned from his Rebbe, all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. So you see that even though something that would seem common sense to be the right thing, you don't want somebody to get embarrassed. By the Chachamim, they didn't just do things because it was the right thing or it made sense. Right? They did it because this was the Ratzon Hashem, this was the ethics, this was the morals that they received from Allah Moshe Sinai. They understood that this was the right thing to do. The Gemara is trying to teach us not because it's logical, but because this is the way we were taught from father to son all the way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. And therefore it starts off by Moshe Kibel Torah Sinai to teach us this lesson, that the ethics of Pirkei Avot, the ethics of Chazal are mamash divine. They're not just made up by Chazal and which are subject to change. They're never subject to change. Whatever Chazal say here is mamash set in stone and can never be changed. That's in regards to the introduction to Pirkei Avot. Now do a little halakha. A little bit will do. Right? A little bit will do. It says over here, Avak ribik intafas mishal malve mafkin an minei. Right? We learned about ribik. So there's a din, there's a halakha in the Shulchan Aruch that says, if somebody stole something from you, you're allowed to take it back from him. But it's only if it's in the moment. Right? But if it's already left, you could have to take him to Beis Din. What about if you know that you have no proof, no nothing, there's no Beis Din? For example, right? If you fell asleep, I went and I took your watch, I put it on my hand. That's it. You're going to wake up, you're going to tell me, where's my watch? This is my watch. How are you going to prove it's your watch? There's no way to prove it. The one who's holding on to it, so the one who is actually holding it is always deemed the owner. Why? Because it's a tangible item. I have no document. If you have documentation, it's just maybe one thing, right? But even documentation, I can always claim that I bought it from you. It's a tangible item. I could say it's mine, right? I could say, once I have something, that in of itself is a proof that it's mine. But what about if somebody came along and he stole money from you? He stole $1,000 from you, and now you know you can't get it back from him. You know exactly $1,000 cash he stole from you. You know 100% that it's his. You saw on the camera. He came to your house. You opened the closet. He took the money and he left. Right? And now you're sitting down next to him. You see he fell asleep, and his coat is next to you, and you see money in his coat. You take the money. You count $1,000. You put the rest back. You take it for yourself. Is it mutar or is it not mutar? So if nobody's there and nobody sees anything or knows anything, and you know 1,000% that he's the guy, he stole $1,000, and there's no way you could get it out of him, so you're allowed to take it back in such a form. Right? But you have to be careful. Right? There's a lot of rules to this rule. There's a lot of rules to this rule. What?
It becomes stealing. You steal from him.
You didn't steal from him. You took back from him what belongs to you. He stole from you, but you know that you have no way to get it out of him, because there's no way you could prove it. Right? To say there's no way you could physically prove it in a court, but you know for sure what he took from you. Right? He took money from the drawer, and he'll say, yeah, okay, I took $50. There's no way to prove it, but you know he took $1,000, right? And you know there's no way for you to get out of it, and the court is... So under such circumstances, you'd be able to steal back that whatever belongs to you. Not saying everybody agrees to this, right? By an item, for sure, it's much more simpler. Right, it's much more simpler by an item. But Lama said it would apply to money as well, based on the tshuva and ben ishchai and so on. Now, by rebit, right? Say if I took a rebit from you, right? Say I charged you rebit. Before you pay me the rebit, you don't have to pay me the rebit, right? So there is a difference between rebit de Rabbanan and rebit de Oraita, right? Say if it's rebit de Rabbanan, right? Say if it's rebit de Rabbanan. I went and I paid you rebit de Rabbanan. And then I realized afterwards, I'm not allowed to pay you rebit. I'm not allowed to pay you rebit, and you're not allowed to charge me rebit. I'm telling you, please give it back to me. So really, if you want to be a tzaddik, you have to give it back. But if it's rebit de Rabbanan, right, a lot of times, you don't have to give it back. Only, let's say, Tidei Shemaim, you have to give it back. So I come, and I take it back from you against your will, right? So now, whose money do we look at it? Do we look at it like it's my money, or do we look at it like it's your money? Right? So really the Shulchan Aruch says no. Once I already paid the malva, it becomes like his money. You're not allowed to go back and jump and snap it out of him and take it away from him. But if it's Ribi D'Oraita, the Shulchan Aruch says, right? If it's Ribi D'Oraita, that's already considered my money. So even though I paid you back afterwards, I can always take it. Even though I paid you, I can always go to court and take it out of you. Verstehst? We need to say like this: if you charge me interest on a loan, and you made $2,000 on me on interest. Now this interest that I paid you is D'Oraita. I say I didn't know that it was Asur. And then I come to you afterwards and I tell you, listen, you charge me interest, not allowed. D'Oraita, I want my money back. Tell me, get your money back in Olam Haba, right? I tell you, no, I'm going to take you to Beis Din, right? If I take you to Beis Din, the Beis Din would make you pay me back that $2,000. You're obligated to pay me back, mamash, like you stole something from me, mamash like Gezel, right? So there, once I to charge your interest, I'm allowed to go ahead and take it back from you in court. So since I'm allowed to take it back from you to court, legally that's like my money. Say I didn't take you to court. I paid you back $2,000 interest, I realized it was wrong, and then afterwards you don't want to give it back to me. I didn't take it to court. Quietly, I took the $2,000 back from you. There, right, do I have to give it back to you or don't I have to give it back to you? That's a discussion, right? So it says over there, when I take it away from you, snatch it back from you, the money that I paid for you, it's a ribis d'oraita, and I was never mochel you, there I would not have to give it back to you. Because legally that would be considered my money, halachically I should say. Halachically, legally, right? That would be considered my money, and therefore, if I would take it, the Beis Din would not be mechayev me to give it back to you and go through the whole system. Okay guys, I see you guys want to go. We'll stop over here. We'll go next week. B'ezrat Hashem. It's not after Pesach. We'll make a longer shir. B'ezrat Hashem.
Thank you very much. I learned something nice today.
Baruch Hashem.
As you said, very, very smart.